Hey, thank you, everybody. Welcome to the Ryan Leonard podcast. We are here to explore all things that have to do with existence, basically. So if you like learning about existence and what we're all here for and what this is all about, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up and subscribe. We have with us tonight a really special, really awesome guest, Miss Kimberly Marie. And Miss Kimberly Marie is you might call it truth seeker and searcher, and somebody who is a CE5 practitioner who's had a lot of experience with this. Just got back from a very cool event recently, and so we're looking forward to hearing some different things. But Kimberly, if you want to kind of start things off, talking maybe about your history, how you got into CE5, all the different things you're interested in, maybe, and just kind of take it from there, and we'll kind of roll with it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
The spark for me was when Dr. Greer came out with his documentary Sirius back in 2012-13. I watched it on the internet, and it just blew me away. I had been a lifelong experiencer, very intuitive yoga practitioner for a few decades, very open to the consciousness community and everything that was going on. I was just rabid about all of that. And when I saw that, I'm like, you could use your consciousness to draw in UFO craft. I couldn't believe it. It was just like, wow, this is incredible. I had had contact experiences in my 20s. And I was that weird friend who, after a few beers, would start asking people in the room if anyone had ever seen a UFO.
Yeah.
I didn't have much of an audience. I really didn't have many people to talk to. It was usually the much older people that may have a story to share or something interesting to contribute. We didn't have the internet, so there wasn't access to this global group of people that were talking about it. So I just made a lot of jokes and had fun with it. I didn't take it too seriously. But now looking back on the experiences, they were kind of a big deal for me. My very first sighting, I was around 12 years old, and it was a Sunday night. It was dark out, and we were on the third floor of an apartment. There were 3 triangles, like triangle, triangle, triangle.
Amen.
They were glowing orbs of light, and they were like platinum white color, and they were playing around. One would go here, one would go there. My mom called the airport. We lived near the Pontiac airport. And she asked if there was an air show or there's some sort of air maneuvers going on in the sky. They said there was nothing on radar. And my mom's like, okay, well, that's weird. And I just stayed there looking out the window for a while, not realizing that I was having a contact experience. I was curious. It was playful. It was really pretty. It was fun. And then I eventually faded away from the window. And that was a seed that was planted. So years later, I had, when I was in my 20s, I had several successions of experiences at night, always around 3:30 p.m., a.m. And there was a light that would come in my room. I'm not going to get into the whole detail of that whole thing, but that was really weird, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I would make jokes about it, and I just kind of let it go. It came to an abrupt end when I asked for it to stop. I asked these 3 beings here in my room. I just said, you guys got to stop. I don't know what this is, and I don't know why you're doing this, but I have to work. Like, I have a life. It's just so bizarre to me. And it stopped per request. But there's no fear, no anxiety, no trauma that came of this, interestingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I moved, I got married, I had kids, I started living just a normal existence, and I didn't have any of that going on during that time. Shortly after I left the marriage, I was on my own again. These experiences started happening again. And that's when the Dr. Greer film came out. And I realized you could use meditation techniques and you could access this phenomena. And so I'd already had sort of the ground laid for me before I saw that film. And when I saw the film, it just lit me up. And it almost felt like a soul calling. like just pulling me from my heart. Like every part of me is going to do this. I could see myself doing it. It wasn't really logical, Ryan, if you knew me.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
not a night person. I don't like to be cold. I don't like bugs. So it's like all of that stuff didn't make any sense. But this yearning to do this work was there.
Yeah.
And so I did whatever I had to do to get to my first contact event, which was in Joshua Tree. And with that experience, I was out there 3 nights with a group of people that I'd never met. We became like family in a very short period of time. And by the third, I went from being afraid of the dark. I was wearing little shin guards on my legs because I was in the desert at night. I didn't really know like what was out there. So I was really trepidatious about being out there. But by the third night, I'd had an incredible contact experience. The star system, the Pleiades,
Mhm.
the Pleiades are like
Yep.
little back up there.
There's something.
So yeah, it was about 1:30 in the morning, and I was gazing at the Pleiades, and I was experiencing sort of like a pin dot of light that would start spiraling out towards me. And it had colors, it was sort of kaleidoscopy, very strange. I don't know if that's a phenomena with the eyes locking on to that one space, but it kept happening over and over again. I notified the group. One of the things is when you're in these groups, you can say anything. No one's going to think you're weird.
Yeah.
So I notified the team and they were observing. And then I went back to chatting. And within 10 minutes, I'm still staring at this area. 6 beautiful glowing white orbs of light came out, 6 crashed. And they were clustered at first. Everybody saw them. And once we were all locked on, they went into what would it be? A hexagon?
Next again. Yeah.
Hexagon? It's like 6 points.
Yeah. Next.
With a perfect, yeah, it was a perfect shape. And it held that position for hours. It was 4:30 in the morning when I got tapped on the shoulder to go back to the room. But I just gazed at them. I was extending my heart energy and I was singing a Sanskrit prayer just to be in a sacred space with the experience. Felt very loving. And then I said goodnight to them as I went in the room because they were still out there. The next morning, everybody left, and I ended up staying there. I didn't know any of these people, and I went back out there that next night, and I had another experience where I was back in the sand in the original spot it was the night before. I went into a meditative state, and when I opened my eyes, I had 2 giant orbs in front of me, one and then the other one. They look like jellyfish, and there's 3 balls of white light just kind of in flux right there. Now, here's the
Were they like jellyfish UFOs? Because I know people report seeing the things that they kind of look like octopuses floating in the air.
it was almost like if you looked at a drum,
Okay.
but it became fluid, little translucent.
Okay.
So it was sort of like that. I suspect now, I don't have the answers to what that was, but I suspect that was a portal,
Okay.
some sort of an opening, a dimensional opening. Pardon, there's a lot of it's at the Joshua Tree Retreat Center.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of that reported out there. People just
yeah,
stop.
they have it all. Yeah, this mapped out. So that was my very first time out in the field. I went home and I was hooked. I just was so in love with what happened. It was awe-inspiring and it was just mind expansive. Then within a year, I decided to go back and I went to my first Joshua Tree with Dr. Stephen Greer. I went back there again and did a training with him. And we were out at the national park and it was amazing, epic. And then literally from there at Fort, I went there in the summer, so it'd be August of 14. And then by February 15, I was in Vero Beach with Dr. Greer again. I was able to assist him and his team. And that was the event where we had the twin ship sighting.
Okay.
Have you seen the twin ship sighting video from Vero Beach yet?
Most likely, but I may not have. If not, what I'll do is we'll put a link to it down below so everybody can see it.
I'll send you a video because you can't find the internet. They scrubbed it off of YouTube a while.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting sighting. It was like two setting suns. What I probably will start talking about that one a little bit more. The video, we had two camera guys with super high tech equipment. Sony AS7 just released their first night vision in full color technology outside of the military at that point.
Okay.
So we had still shots, there was video. And when it was released on Facebook, MUFON came and immediately discredited it as flares.
Right. I know exactly what event you're talking about. Yes.
You know,
Yes, because there was a guy on some other show talking about this, trying to discredit Dr. Greer, and was like, well, they showed it was a guy flying around dropping flares. And I was like, those aren't flares. You clearly never even saw the video yet.
well, I don't have to be a rocket scientist to say that flares will eliminate the ground below or the land below.
Right. Yeah.
These were the size of two setting suns. And when you zoom in on the video, the still shot, there is zero flare on the line. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
There was also two guys with military-grade night vision goggles observing the whole dynamic. So there was no flares. There was no smoke. There were some interesting lights off to the sides of these two giant orbs of light. It was 9:05, 9:08 p.m. Anyways, so that was my second time, and I'm like, oh my God, or my third. And then Enrique Villanueva decided to lead a group at Mount Shasta shortly after that. He is part of the Rama contact community, which is a Peruvian group from back in the 70s. And he was very close within the community with Sixto Paz and Ricardo Gonzalez and all those guys. But they had not been interested in really bringing it to the U.S. for English people. Enrique decided he was going to do that. He was a bit of a rebel, and all of us C5ers flocked to Mount Shasta because we wanted to know what that was all about.
Yeah.
And so for 9 years, several of us have been going out there and gathering with Enrique to do the Rama contact protocols, and that's been really, really, really powerful. Very unique, different approach to making contact. They do a lot of mantra practice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with chanting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have their own mantras that they work with. They have very specific ones. Dr. Greer, he has one that is called Aim Nama, that he says came out of the deep field of consciousness in one of his meditations. And so Aim Nama is the one that he works with. So, and the Rama people, they'll chant Rama and Amar, which means love. And there's another one called Zing Uru. But what happens when the Rama people are chanting, they're with the vibration of sound within their own bodies, within their own magnetic fields, and with everybody doing it together within the circle, they create an activated field, a frequency field.
Yeah.
And when this activated frequency field is lit, a lot of things start to happen. That's when things really start to get activated. The idea of common ground between us making contact with higher consciousness beings is that they're at a very high frequency field. And so what we're doing is raising our frequency, we're elevating our frequency, and then they're lowering their frequency. And if we can create that touch point, contact will occur. Okay. We can see them, they're interacting with us in a way that's safe. And so that's the Rama.
Yeah.
9 years of Rama. I was supposed to head out there next week. Actually this week. And my girlfriend Maddie and I, we just switched directions a few weeks ago. We're actually, instead of going to Shasta this year, we're going to head out to Dublin, Ireland.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm meeting some contact friends from New Zealand and Australia and Scotland. We're getting a country cottage outside of Dublin for the week, and we're going to be doing contact every night in various locations and also during the day. I think the last couple nights we'll travel around the island and do contact. We did put out a message to one of the Ireland pages, and I'm hoping somebody else in our group is supposed to send another one out. But we are reaching out to the Irish community, the contact community. If anybody wants to join us on 9/11 at, I believe it's the Hill of Tara. We're going to be doing a global meditation for peace.
Mhm.
And I think it's at the Hill of Tara. But anyways, I'm gathering emails for that. So we are looking to reach out to the greater community in Ireland. We're heading out next Sunday. So we're going to do that.
Did you guys pick Ireland just because you wanted to see Ireland, or was there kind of another reason for it?
Um, you know what? A friend of mine, Jeremy from New Zealand, he's going to be in Europe for a little while. He's going to go around to different places and do contact.
Mhm.
I would love to be able to do that with him. I don't know how long Andre's staying, but he's going to be making his way around, and I can only stay for the week. And a friend of mine that goes to Rama, she's coming with me to do Ireland. But I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of healing that needs to occur on the planet.
And
And I'm not really sure what the purpose is for us going. I mean, we're going to make contact, but it feels like we're going in more of a intention of healing.
yeah,
Or
that's what I wondered, was if you had kind of a calling or a feeling to go there, if it was,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the whole planet needs healing, but I think that there's a powerful node there, and we're going to be connecting in with that, and maybe doing some release work, but definitely trying to bring people together in the community also, for, for peace, and to do some CE5s and just to gather. I mean, just bringing the people together. That was so beautiful about last week when we were at the contact modality retreat. um, so I don't know. I'm kind of going on and on here. I did a couple of retreats with Lisa Royal. I don't know if you've heard of her. She was one of the original team members with Dr. Greer back in the 90s, and she eventually branched off and went on her own. She developed her own way of making contact. She channels 2 different entities that come through for teaching and for guidance, and she has a huge presence in Japan, actually.
Okay.
She spends a lot of her year in Japan. That her and her husband live in Arizona. She was doing annual retreats. Now she's kind of shifted her work a little bit. She's authored several books, and she does a lot of online programs, classes, and whatnot. But she's amazing. I learned so much from her.
Mhm.
We've had some incredible contact there as well. So, but what I love about it is when I'm with Enrique and the Rama people, it's such a beautiful experience. Their way unfolds the most amazing types of contact. And when you're with Lisa Royal, it's a whole different energy. She brings ceremony into it, which I love.
And
And her husband's a Navajo trained person, so he brings the Navajo ceremony into it. And then Dr. Greer, the work that he's doing is he's been consistent all of these years. His story is amazing. He's written so many books, authored, and done all these movies. His contribution has been significant for disclosure. And so, I think that when people get interested in contact, they find themselves gravitating in various directions based on where they're coming from. CE5, to me, is Dr. Greer wanted to bring validity to this in a scientific way. He wanted it to be measurable in some capacity. And so we would be out there with our tri-field meters and our lightning detectors and, just trying to document it and research it in a way that brings validity to it so that, the political community and the disclosure, people would start to take it more seriously, which I really think it's taken great strides over the last probably 5 years.
yeah, nobody's crazy anymore for saying that they saw.
No, you're not going to lose your job. You're not going to get a mental aptitude test.
The difference from 10 years ago, 10 years ago, if you were a pilot and you said, man, we almost got hit by this white flying disc thing out there, they would have rounded you. And nowadays it's like, oh, go report that to the FAA right now. Like, now, actually. Yeah. Don't hide it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you remember this moment. It was in 2020 when COVID lockdown hit us. And the New York Times came out with an article, and they're talking all about the Tic Tac UFO. And it was a big deal in the UFO community because this subject wasn't really getting any press
Right.
in traditional news outlets. Um, I mean, I have my ideas about whether that's actually authentic UFO or if that's, that's something of ours. But here nor there,
I'm on
right? Like,
Dr. Greer said that he's like, yeah, I think it's been around since like the 60s. It's a Northrop Grumman thing or whatever.
yeah, yeah. Okay, it brought the conversation to the table again,
Yeah. Well, and what's funny too is like him saying that versus like there's other different. He'll be like, "Oh no, that other thing, yeah, that was totally real. That came from this place." But yeah, that thing, no, that was ours. Like, whatever. I've seen that thing before. So it's just sort of funny, like because then you'll see other people that are like, "We saw that exact thing. That's from a different dimension, and this and that and the other." And it's like, no, it's from a basement in Arizona, basically. Guys, like,
I know.
those things exist that you're talking about, but no, that one is like they dusted it off before sending it out, basically.
Yeah. Over the years, I mean, it's just, there's so much out there from the military, the high tech craft that they've been working on forever. And then you get space junk and millions of satellites are up there now. And it's, we got our apps and stuff, but the military stuff isn't going to show up on your app,
Right.
And so the one thing that I feel for me discerns is it thought responsive?
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm going to lock onto something, if I'm going to signal it, it can flare up and that's really cool. But then if I make a request, if I'm connecting in consciousness, is it going to respond?
Right.
Then with all my being, I'm going to be like, whoa, okay, we got something going on here.
Right.
I hate to be such a critic. I'm probably way more open than MUFON is. They're trained to really discredit a lot of things, but they're also attempting to, they're attempting to keep track of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And what's real, there's a small percentage of it, but it's significant. I was doing a CE5 on my back patio. This was a few years ago, maybe longer. I don't know. But I was just laying out and I'm looking at the sky and I'm seeing all kinds of these white orbs kind of flying around the sun.
Yeah.
Like if you black out the sun, there's some stuff going on out there. And I run and get my glasses. I come back. I'm laying there. I'm looking at it. I'm like, wow. Day 2, I'm doing it again. Now, day 3, I fly out to Shasta. I'm doing contact with the Rama people. Now I'm in my tent checking my phone. And there's a guy from MUFON. He's a chief field investigator. He was from Michigan and Wisconsin, named Daniel Snow. And he's messaging me and he goes, hey, I just got a record from 2 guys that live across the street from your house. They filed an official report that they saw these UFOs up in the sky right by us.
Awesome.
Like right here.
Yeah.
So to me, it just makes my heart smile. Can I prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt? No, it's really hard to do that. But that's the kind of validity that I have a lot of fun with. It's like, all right, that was something.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. Yeah, that's one of the things people have asked me because I'd seen different things, but it wasn't anything substantial where I'm like trying to do like what you're talking about, where it's like, hey, can you flash or anything or anything like that? So we were talking about
Well, it's like having an experience on my back patio and how the field investigator messaging me to say that a couple of guys created a report. You were talking about all the things that we see in the sky and having discernment and, people like the New York Times. Now you have the whole thing in the congressional hearings every summer for the last few years going on with the whistleblowers and all of that kind of stuff. I'm very loosely pay attention to those things. I know they're significant. It's bringing the conversation to the general public, but I'm always a little bit suspicious as to why,
Right. What's the real reason they're actually having it?
One thing I work hard at doing is staying out of the narratives. I try really hard to just stay in the open space of it and not fall into the narratives. If there's something that's coming through that feels fearful or scary or is having a negative impact on society, creating doubt or whatever, I feel a little suspicious. And I'm not saying what I think it is. It's just that I think it's really important as a contactee and an experiencer and someone who's initiating contact to stay open to the phenomena and try not to put labels on it and to act like I know what it is. What I do know is that my experiences have been incredibly benevolent and joyful and fun and responsive, healing. I feel like I'm doing amazing work in the world by doing this kind of stuff. I've chosen to fly under the radar, so I don't have a lot of stuff out there on the internet. I don't want to be targeted in any way. I don't want any resistance. So I just, here's the radar, here's me.
Right.
Fly radar to have the most impact. Whether it's in my local community or when I'm traveling and I'm with groups and doing contact. And it's been good. I have had friends that had been targeted in various ways.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the thing. It's sometimes it's not even like necessarily the official cabal of bad guys. It's just somebody figuring out who somebody is and doxing them because they're just a jerk or, I mean, look at you've got these, there's skeptics and then there's debunkers. And, a skeptic is a person like me. I'm a very science-minded person. You go out and you read both sides of the story. And then you got the debunker type that looks at everything that may cause it to be false and just uses all of that stuff. They don't pay attention to any of the other things out there. But yeah, people are motivated to go out and do that kind of stuff for no reason sometimes. I don't know if you ever saw the guy that was harassing Buzz Aldrin about the Apollo landings, and Buzz Aldrin punched him on camera.
No.
What was a guy who kept following Buzz Aldrin around for a very long time saying how, the Apollo landings were faked and all this and that. And finally, at one point, he had just been harassing Aldrin, and Aldrin just turned around and punched him in the face. He tried to sue Buzz Aldrin and went to court, and the judge was like, no, I'm not. Yeah, you were harassing, and that's all there is to it. So he got out. But yeah, those people just exist. I have no idea why, people just go out to try and be disinformation people and stuff. And it's weird.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I'm happy to hear what people have to say, but I just do my thing. About 7 years ago, maybe 7.5 years ago, a woman named Melissa, he reached out to me. She became very curious about Ce5 and contact, had experiences of her own. And back then, the community was still pretty small. It felt like when the people that were online talking about this, we all kind of knew each other in a way, even though we didn't actually met. And so I would periodically, somebody would reach out to me. I have a local contact group here that I'll go out maybe 2 or 3 times a year and I'll lead a group here. I've led for Move On twice. I've spoken at Move On a couple of times here in Michigan. So it's been nice just to have a little bit of local activity, although I do travel a lot for it. So I just got a message today from one of my guys on my meetup. He's like, it's been quiet around here. But in Michigan, it's nice in the spring and the fall. The mosquitoes kind of die down and it's got its own sort of magic to it. But Melissa reached out to me 7 years ago. She has a resort in Arborvitae, Wisconsin. Little cottages and one big cottage house, and she's got little grandma houses down the street. She Airbnbs all of it throughout the year for people that like to come out for summer activities, hunting, fishing, and whatnot. It's a very busy little hub, but she had a vision to have a gathering of Ce5 for 3 days. And I was super geeked about it. I thought, you know what? I've been wanting, one of the things that I've always wanted to do since I got excited about Dr. Greer in 13, because I've been a practitioner of yoga, I had studied Kundalini Yoga in 2018. And Kundalini Yoga is basically breath work and mantra practice and meditation.
It's very familiar.
Combination of those things. Yeah. So she invited me to come and I said, well, I'm not going to do it by myself. So I called several of my friends. I said, we need a team because each person has a different specialty. One guy's good at camera and equipment stuff and another guy's good at leading meditations and stuff like that. So I brought a little team together But I was able to create the itinerary for those 3 days. And I inserted a 2-hour breathwork Kundalini class. And then the next day I inserted a mantra practice with meditation. And so the reason why I did these things is because it supports the individual in expanding their consciousness, clearing their mental emotional field, activating the magnetic field, and then seeing if the contact might be more exponential because of that work.
Yeah.
And we had such good contact out there that we're like, okay, let's do it again. So the next year came around and we went back. Well, a few years ago, she decided to change it from strictly CE5 to contact modality. So we still have the sky watches going on, and I still did my consciousness development practices, but she was adding different speakers and classes, people that had different types of modalities in consciousness music.
Yeah.
And it drew a huge crowd. It drew a lot more people that would probably not have just come to a CE5, but they got to experience all of it. That was 3 years ago, maybe 4. And anyways, and she's been working on Chris Bledsoe for a few years now, but she started a conference. I don't know if you heard about the Contact Modality Conference in Delavan, Wisconsin. That was just this past May.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't go to that, which was really disappointing.
You'll get there. It's coming back.
Yeah, it just wasn't meant to be this year for some reason.
I totally am. We can't, look, if we could do everything that we wanted to do out there, it'd be hard to attend the day jobs.
Right, exactly.
We gotta work. But, so yeah, she did the conference, and Chris came to that. And that was the first time that I was leading Skywatch with another person of his caliber. And so we had an opportunity to be together, but it was raining that night. And so I did the introduction and the meditation and the mantra practice. And then when I was finished with my part, Chris came in and talked. So that was pretty cool. But it was already teed up that we were going to be at at Arborvitae, Wisconsin, which was just this past week. But he brought his family, his wife, his son, Chris Jr., and Emily came, and Yvonne. And they had several of their friends that joined them as well. So we had an amazing group. And I have my way. We had 3 nights. I planned my first night is all C5.
Mm-hmm.
The second night is all Rama Contact, which is the Peruvian. That was going to be my first introduction to that, like leading it. I'm always just on to the event. And then my third night is Native American. I did do some training in Navajo Beauty Way ceremony with Lisa Royal's husband, Ron. And so now when I go to this event, I'll do a full Navajo ceremony with just a few people at the beginning to initiate the land. And so I orchestrated 3 nights, but I wasn't sure how it was going to go with Chris.
Yeah.
I put it together, and I really had to yield to his way is very different. He doesn't do ceremony at all. He just gets up, he opens his heart, he says a little prayer, and he waits for the action to come. So we kind of collaborated back and forth on the first night. Then he left early, and so then I finished out the night. The second night, I just pulled out my chair and hung out and let them do their thing. I was really excited to watch. But again, they left, and so the second half of the night, I took over and we just did some mantra. It was very informal. The last night was raining, so everyone came. We had an Ojibwa group of men that came in from an Ojibwa tribe, and they beat the drum and they sang the sacred songs, and it was just amazing. And then everybody socialized. They all left. The Bledsoes didn't stick around. They just went back. It's just getting late. They're not real late owls. So I was able to lead a Native American. I kind of created this little ceremony of calling in the directions. It was a spirit invocation, and then I created a meditation that involved chanting the Zin Uru and some breath work to drums and all of that. So that was so powerful. I was so happy and just so connected after that. Everybody and people, I don't know how much I can share, but like a lot of people just took off and went into the woods out down by the dock on the lake, and there was all kinds of orb activity, all kinds of stuff was going on. Yeah, some people had videos, some people had photos.
Yeah.
Um, there was all kinds of activity that night. Now we're just getting into some of the photo albums. People are sharing this and that, but I think there's a lot of video that's going to come out. During when Chris was doing his work, there was a lot of things happening. If you're pointed in the right direction, you're going to see it. Some of us didn't. Some had really cool binoculars and things that they could see beyond what you're just seeing on the surface. So I'm excited to see how that unfolds over the
Yeah.
next couple weeks here.
So one thing I want to ask, defining contact. For some people, when they are thinking of C5, they are simply thinking the visual idea of seeing something in the sky, but physical objects or something else. One of the things, though, that a lot of people experience with C5 is more kinds of contact. So we'll say somebody saying, yeah, I felt like I had this kind of like download of information, or I felt like something was talking to me. Did anybody talk about any other forms of that? Or, sometimes even Dr. Greer's like photographed like weird blurry things in chairs that he says are aliens and all that kind of stuff. Did you guys have any kind of experiences like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that some of the pictures and the videos haven't been released yet, but we're getting it to that part right now. Are you speaking specifically for this event that we just had?
Yeah,
In general terms.
well, specifically for this one, but in general, just in your experience, I'd love to hear
Okay.
about other forms of, yeah.
Well, I would say I would frame it just a little bit different to say that especially the people that have never done this before, you always have a percentage that comes to get when you have a big group. There's a percentage that have never done this before, or their spouses have dragged them there because they have had experiences, and so you fell out of newbies. That when you're first approaching this field of interest, it's physical. I want to see a thing in the sky. They're waiting to see something.
Yeah.
But as the time goes on and you're starting to open up intuitively, you're going to start to have more and more and more experiences. The more open you are, the more developed you are. If you meditate a lot, if you chant a lot, if you do a lot of breath work, these things are activating your field differently than if you don't do anything at all. And so your ability to see energy might be much more acute. You might see something in the field that somebody else doesn't see at all.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost like a muscle. Intuition is something we all naturally, innately have. The more that you use it, the more it's going to produce results for you.
Yeah.
Which is why I like to take people through these practices. We come in with that left brain. It's logical. You might see something in the sky and you're going to analyze it. You're going to logicize it. And then you're like, oh, that's a blah, blah, blah. And then you just let it go.
Mhm.
Oh, that's a blah, 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 right? The idea is to journey from that left brain analytical space, kind of loosen that space up and open up that right brain creative sort of metaphysical aspect of self, open up the heart
Mhm.
and really get into the feeling state of things. This is when those experiences start to amplify. If you go to a Dr. Greer event, you're going to be meditating for 2 hours a day. You watch you meditating like that for weeks before you
Right.
get there. Then a couple hours a day meditation, and then there's going to be another couple hours meditation in the field. And that's really, that's the secret sauce to opening things up. Contact seems to be an external thing, but contact is really connection with yourself.
Right.
It's that inner contact with this. And then when you touch your neighbors and you hold them and you hug people, like that's contact with others in community, connecting with the earth around you, the trees, the beautiful sky and the stars. You can hear the animal sounds. Now you're opening and connecting with nature. All of these things in that feeling state opens up that field of paranormal perceptivity of seeing. Now, with that said, many people have had experiences doing nothing but going out and walking the dog.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, you can't dismiss that. But I like to, there's two different things.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's all sorts of different stuff going on. That's why we use the phrase phenomenon instead of like calling it a bunch of different individual things. There's all sorts of stuff going on that seems to be overlapping between, like for Chris, complete overlapping between the spirit world and between what people would call the UAP world. For him, like his experience is a complete one and the same type of thing. Whereas for other people, they have very, very almost analog experiences where even if they're, oh yeah, I was brought up onto this ship and then I had this particular experience and then, I went downstairs and, did this. That's it. It's just very plain Jane. It's very dry for them or whatnot. But it's interesting the different types of experiences that people have when they're talking about any of this.
Yeah, I've got a million stories. there's I remember when I first went to a Greer training and I was just feeling like, here's Greer. Oh, there's a ship over there. See those scintillating lights? And I'm like, I don't see the lights, right? And you're like, okay. And then a couple nights later, he's standing by these bushes. Oh, there's scintillating lights in the bushes. They're little sparky lights. And he starts talking about who they are. And then there's another guy who's filming the whole thing, and I'm standing there going, I don't see this. And there's a part of you that's going, okay, I might be, I'm a little crazy. Maybe I'm in a crazy group of people here, or maybe there's something wrong with me because I'm not seeing it.
I'm not in clothing. He's clearly naked. Where's the king's pants? Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, oh my God. Well, that night we were having a glass of wine. And Dr. Greer likes to do communality after we're out in the field. And Daniel is showing the video, and I'll be damned if those bushes weren't twinkling.
Yeah.
His equipment picked it up, and I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going. So now, fast forward, we're at Vero Beach. Here we are, the end of January. All the houses are empty. We're just facing the ocean. And I'm sitting there next to him, and his voice can lull me to sleep. It's very
yeah, he does have a very hypnotic voice.
Yeah, he does.
Monotone.
Yeah, and you can get pretty tired out there. So I'm sitting there, and we were just coming out of a meditation, and he's asking people if they got anything in their meditations, any visions, messages, whatever. And then somebody said something, and he's droning and talking, Dr. Greer. All of a sudden, this beam of light, like lightning, shoots down in the middle of the circle and then pings off the ground and shoots right at Dr. Greer. And he's in a gravity chair.
Yeah.
Right? So he's kind of half sitting up, suspended, and he goes, whoa! It's the whole time he came off the chair. Well, I don't know what that was. But anyways, and he just starts talking, and my eyes are like this.
Yeah.
This happened.
Right.
And I saw it. So when I had a chance to share, I told the group, when Dr. Greer jumped off of his chair, I saw this beam of light come down like lightning and shoot right at him. It didn't hurt him, right. But it was such a cool thing, and nobody else saw it. Nobody saw it.
It's funny too, because the thing is, anytime you hear somebody say something like what anyone who's not at that place isn't, oh, well, I don't really know if the person, but once you've sort of had an experience like that, and other people are telling you about their stuff, it's totally not weird. Most of the different really weird stuff I saw, I was on vacation in Costa Rica, and I saw all sorts of different things that were not of this dimension, that were kind of moving around the forest, in the house we were in. It was very, very surreal. But yeah, after you've seen certain different things, and especially taking pictures of stuff in the sky and everything, then it's just, it's just, you realize that if you saw that one weird thing, it's very likely that the other weird thing probably happened as well.
Yeah. Well, and then you hang out with your weirdo friends, and you all share your stories.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, I've learned just to not doubt anything, just be in the experience of it.
Yeah.
How am I growing? How am I expanding? It keeps me in a state of wonder. It's like when we were little kids and we would play, and we just were imaginary, and we were so accepting of everything and everyone, So here we are, like little kids out there in the forest, on the mountain, having these unbelievable experiences. And when somebody else is standing by you and they're having the same experience, it's a really beautiful thing. You'll spend months talking about it, integrating it, and process. Um, there was a story in Joshua Tree. Enrique came with us that year, and it was Jeremy, and there was just this whole group of people. It was probably like 12 or 13 of us, and we were out in the desert, and we were on break. We'll generally do a meditation, and it'll be like our first session, and then on break, people go to the bathroom, but they also wander. And Jeremy, none of us knew. I had gone back to the circle. There's a few of us sitting there. He was having a conversation. I don't know. I don't think this being was talking back, but there was a shadow being standing in front of him. And have you ever witnessed a shadow being? They're
Not seen any of those things in real life.
they're kind of a humanoid figure, and
Yeah.
they look like cowboys. Like they kind of have their arms out.
They call them the Hat Men.
Something like that.
They called I just saw some areas like who is the Hat Man, and it was people who wake up with the shadow beings in their room at night, and they're always wearing a cowboy hat and red eyes.
I've not seen the hat. I've seen shadow beings in many places, but I haven't seen the hat. But I know what you're talking about. Well, he's out there and he's got this shadow being, and he's trying to have a conversation with this being, and he says, "I'd like to introduce you to our group." So he's trying to like steer the shadow being towards us. So I see him and I see this shadow being in front of him. I actually witnessed it. And he's looking at us and he's like, "Hey guys, I want you to meet my friend here." Like, what are you going to do when you're in the presence of that, right? Like, but that's how he was handling it. I want you to meet this being. Blah blah blah. So we turned our attention to this being, and somebody was coming from the opposite direction. They went off to use the bathroom somewhere in the desert, and they were coming back and literally walked right through the shadow being. I saw the shadow being go and just kind of fizzle away.
Yeah.
And so the next day, the person that was observing the shadow being wanted to talk about it. In fact, he wanted to talk about it periodically over the course of several months. He was trying to make sense of it. He wanted every detail that I could muster up because we're doing our own field research.
Right.
And then the next time you're in front of a shadow being, what are you going to do? Maybe you can take it a step further. Who knows? I've definitely seen them here. Big Arb, I saw a big one a couple years into it. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they are. They don't communicate. They're a bit mysterious. They're more into observation than they are interaction.
There seems to be a lot of those particular groups or ideas of types of creatures and beings in all of the different areas of the world. Like I know for like Mount Shasta specifically, is said to have these particular cloaked, big, tall, dark, black, cloaked, shadowy figures that appear on the mountain observing people, and then when people try to take a picture, they fade away. But again, they don't interact. It's just observation, and that's it. And then you have the other types, like in the Middle East, you have the jinn.
The jinns.
Yeah, the jinns in the Middle East, and then you have all sorts of other different, Native American folklore has all different sorts of different beings that everybody says where they live, the stars still shine is kind of the key to it, where you don't have people. That's where all of these things, in whatever way they exist, that's where they seem to exist, is sort of in these areas away from humanity.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I have a philosophy. Yeah, there's a lot of different beings in Shasta. People have asked me periodically over the years, "Aren't you afraid?" I've had people that are well-meaning and care for me are worried about me going out there in the middle of the night and hugging trees and doing mantras with friends.
Right.
And I honestly can say I have a healthy dose of fear in me. I know that there are things out there that aren't good or safe, I would say. But when we're doing this type of work, Ryan, we're activating a very strong frequency field.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do that, I could say there's a level of protection there, But what we're drawing in is a vibrational match to what we're resonating at.
Right.
But when your mind is in a space of love and healing and joy and honoring and respect, when you walk onto a land in an honoring way and with respect, you're received differently. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that? Like, instead of just walking up and arrogantly, like, I don't know, just disrespecting the land, or
You're tuning your frequency to what you want to the radio station of your choice, kind of vibrationally. Like, if like I want a radio station that like is a radio station of souls that are on the frequency I'm on, kind of.
yeah.
Winning.
Yeah, it's like that. Like, when we're doing the mantras and we have this field and we're coming from a space of love, the most loving interactions come into our field. Like, what we are projecting out is coming back to us. And I never had a negative experience.
I was just gonna say that I've never heard of anybody have it. Like, people have negative ET experiences, and I hear about that kind of stuff all the time. And who knows what where that's coming from. But yeah, with like the actual making contact, CE5, making contact on purpose. I'd never heard of anybody like, you wouldn't believe it, man. They wouldn't, they appeared and then they wouldn't leave me alone and they were attacking me in my dreams. No, it's the exact opposite of that every single time.
Yeah.
Not like people messing around with Ouija boards and magic where stuff gets messed up and they end up on some kind of a weird TV show. No, this is like, it all goes pretty well for everybody as far as I know for now.
Oh, yeah. We don't hear bad reports in our community. I would say that I think it's important to have a healthy skepticism. It's also important to really respect the phenomena, to understand that we don't know everything. When we're engaging with high frequency energies, you have to be careful. I observed a group of people recently who one got really close to an orb. He was asking for the orb to come closer. And there were several orbs in the field, and it came in close enough that it shocked his. I don't know if it's
electrostatic discharge.
Yeah, it overwhelmed him. He became disoriented. He started seeing like colors and patterns and stuff. So I think it had an impact on his pineal, but he became very nauseous and he passed out. And so I said to him, I go, well, I think, it's important that we say, come closer in a way that's safe for both of us.
Yeah.
Just be a little more specific, and know that we're doing the dance in the best way that we can, that maintains my integrity and your integrity and doesn't blow us out. I don't know if it's a Rendlesham forest. I know there's some stories around that where somebody actually touched
Travis.
Was it?
Yeah, Travis. I was just actually going to bring that up right before you said it.
Travis was fire in the sky, wasn't he?
Travis was fire in the sky. He says, so when his story, like I just heard him talking about it, or at least like his way of figuring what happened to him, is that when he got out of the truck and walked over to where it was at, he said he went to touch it, and he said that's the last thing he remembers. And that's when people saw him get zapped. And so then his story afterwards, when Dr. Brewer and other people listened to it, they're like, yeah, it sounds like he shocked himself. It gave him a heart attack, and they put him out of the ship, saved him, and then did whatever with it. But yeah, I've heard of that one happening. I haven't heard of different ones. The Rendlesham one, I know about the guy touching it, and he got like a transfer of information, but I didn't know it like shocked him or anything though.
What? I'm really bad at names.
I'm terrible about this stuff too.
But whoever touched it, they weren't well. Like, people have come too close. They've touched these technologies and they're in the hospital. So I think it's important to be discerning and respectful, and only move into these phenomena in a way that doesn't overwhelm your system.
Yeah.
The phenomena is willing to come close, but we have to do it in a way that doesn't hurt us. And it's hard. We're out there leading people, but we also want people to be safe. And we don't have all the answers either.
No, and
Okay.
well, it's brought up something the other day that was again multiple things going on all at the same time. And he was bringing up the fact that he said when I do this, he said I'm pretty positive some of these different things I see are ET based or non-human intelligence based. He said, I will absolutely tell you, he said, I think some of the stuff I see is my higher self or my own mind or my consciousness or something. He said, my spirit self, some kind of combination of the two, because he said, there's stuff I see where I think I'm communicating with it. And then there's stuff that I see where it's responding in real time. It's not like I'm communicating. He said, I feel like I'm communicating with my upper self or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just it's the same looking stuff. He said sometimes there's something different about it where it's in real time instead of the consciousness kind of delayed seeing something happening. So yeah. But yeah, there are other people that have that same thought that some of the different orgs, like when like what Chris is doing, that it's kind of like his ability to create these different things, that some of them are intelligences and some of it is him just manifesting himself and his spiritualness kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it very well could be.
Yeah.
If you subscribe to the premise that we're all one,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all different facets of that one energy, and
Right.
your higher self, there's your higher self. I was told, I was in a intuitive development program. It was a 9-month training. And the woman that was reading it, she was amazing. She's very shamanic and she does mediumship and all that. I did it 4 times. I did it for 4 years. It was just a fascinating subject for me to develop intuition.
Yeah.
And I remember one year I brought in a bunch of pictures. All of a sudden, every picture, random photos of this huge orb was off to my one side, like a massive orb. So I brought it to the group and I asked her in front of the group, can you share with me what you're getting from this picture? And she said that that's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That our souls are so big that a portion of the soul is actually in the compressed density of the physical form, while the other aspects of soul are doing different work, whether it's here or it's supporting me on my journey here.
Yeah.
Which was really interesting.
Yeah.
It's
really interesting.
I mean, yeah.
There's, another, somebody was on a different show the other day kind of proposed the idea also of, what was it? It had to do with multiple universes. Yeah, that's sort of like that your higher self is living all of these different lives on different versions or different multiverses, basically. So like you've got millions of you in the multiverse living all different lives at the same time that are all collectively a part of the one higher self. So, which is interesting, except for the fact then, okay, so then in every one of these dimensions, do people then die and do a life review and get meet for, how it just opens up so many more different questions when you hear people propose the different kind of ideas and stuff. It's very neat.
My brain turns into like rubber. Yeah, if you die and go to life review, you're still on linear time. Some
Right.
people.
Yes. And easily, yeah. So if we've got so in each universe, are you dying at the same time? And then how do you all become your higher self at what point? Like, I don't know.
When there's a final merging of
Right. It's somewhere in the, billions of years in the future of the infinite or something like that.
what about the idea of like time isn't actually linear at all? It's quite non-linear. Instead of being a line, I look at it like this. If all time is now and it's accessible through consciousness, and when you access higher consciousness, time and space ceases to exist. So then all aspects of your timeline are accessible.
Right.
All lifetimes are accessible from past, present to future. So we're such creator gods, and with that mindset, we can go back and heal this ancestral lineage. We can support the healing for our future ancestors in this lifetime alone, but then you can tap into other lifetimes and start doing healing work. Yeah, this whole consciousness expansion, acceleration that we're going through is it's fascinating.
It's fascinating. And what's fascinating about you is it's happening at the same time that you see such extremism and absolutism happening
Yeah.
in ways in the world. Not that I'm not in, it's not that I think either one of those is good. There are absolutisms on either side, but you've got everybody else kind of caught in the middle. The reasonable folk who are like, about discussing things that instead of, throwing glasses of water in people's faces or whatnot. But yeah, you've got everybody kind of having that other more aggressive attitude going on about things right now. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on politically in the world, that's not really being reported in the US right now too, about, there's a lot, all of the different countries that have large migrant populations are having all kinds of like rioting and stuff going on in the streets. It's just really strange, all of this stuff going on. And yeah, you're not seeing it on Channel 7 for some reason or anything along those lines. But yeah,
No.
interesting stuff. And then at the same time, but that you've got that going on, I was telling somebody the other day, if you want to call it sort of the I don't know, non-denominational spiritual market, like for books and TV entertainment, anything related to this kind of stuff, has become just a giant, enormous market of consumerism now, with people trying to scoop up all sorts of different information on the subject matter, which is a good thing. Hopefully, they'll be getting lots and lots of different views and opinions. But yeah, no, it's a lot going on right now.
Well, I say to people, have your own experience.
Mhm.
Just have your own genuine experiences. Do a meditation practice. Do something that connects you to source every day. Build that connection. Open up intuitively and keep a strong magnetic field through your practices, and you will start to experience in the world in a much different way.
Yeah.
Less reactive to the polarity pull, the narrative spins, the manipulation that seeks to create fear in the mind,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
that seeks to separate us from each other, separate from ourselves. Even to say that God is over there creates separation. You
No.
know,
Cool.
yeah, but when you can have your own experience of your own consciousness, your own intuition, allow intuition to guide your life in a way. Like I say to people, is your intuition ever giving you bad advice?
Right. When you trust your real intuition, not.
I mean, it might not make sense
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
but you look back on it and go, oh man, I wish I would have listened to my gut instinct on that
Mhm.
one. We can override the system anytime. We have free will. And it's just, we're all learning. But I think that there is a more optimal way to surf the reality that we're experiencing right now, that pulls us out of the duality of all the craziness that's happening, so that we can stay in a space of love and compassion and real connection with other people. I can sit back, I can listen to this side, I can listen to that side. I get pulled in, I get scared, there's all
Right.
these things going on, but then I need that time away from my phone, the computers, with people like we just did at the modality retreat, to just be with people, to sing and to laugh and to breathe and to be in nature and to really, really embrace each other and experience the fullness of what contact is really about.
Yeah.
It isn't just seeing something in the sky. That's like the extra stuff that happens as a
Right.
result of doing the work. And so, it's good to read the books. It's good to listen to podcasts and hear what people have to say, but just not to get too attached to any of it, and to just really cultivate this. And we'll make our way through.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things you brought up, you used the phrase narratives, and yeah, no, there's tons of narratives out there for all of the different topics on different stuff. And just one of the things I always try to tell people, I said, when you're going through, and I can tell you my opinion on what I think is correct and what is incorrect, and who I think is on the take and who is not on the take, so to speak, all that good stuff. So I can give here's my 25 years of, my opinion on something. But what I've told everybody is, I said, when you're examining all this information, think of this, okay? You get this narrative from somebody and it inspires nothing but fear in you. Fear to tell you need people in charge to take care of you and make sure that you're safe, and they're gonna, put their surveillance in and all. if they're putting you, if anybody's narrative is putting you into a place of fear where you need to give power and control to anybody else over you, or if something bad is going to happen, I would highly suggest you treat that one lightly. Whereas the different narratives you hear from people, such as the kind of stuff we're talking about today, where it's like, no man, it's about just opening up and opening your heart and that kind of deal. Again, if anybody wanted to take over, we've been here a long time. Homo sapiens have been around at least 250,000 years, and I'm pretty sure we've had contact that whole long time. So I don't think anybody's planning on landing and taking over. So that's just my take on it. But yeah, but yeah, just the different narratives are out there that that we know exist, that are trying to inspire fear in people, to allow a false flag thing, or the way that some legends do with people. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I think that with everything that I see it all moving in the correct direction. Like, all of the different disinformation seems to be out there, but it's not being paid attention to the way that I think others would like it to be.
Yeah. Well, with every big crisis, more and more people wake up.
Mhm.
Polarity is an interesting thing, and that's sort of the gig on this planet, is the polarity. And if you're a consciousness and you want to grow, what triggers that growth is friction.
Right.
It's pain, it's suffering. I mean, who wants to go into that thing, like, nobody wants to directly go into it. But what that does is it causes our consciousness to rapidly evolve and to open up and to develop and to become more aware. I feel like this is steering us into our own sovereignty.
Yeah.
This
Absolutely.
isn't right, but this isn't left. And this is, I'm disillusioned over here, so I'm going to go over here. Oh, I'm getting a little disillusioned over here. I don't know what the truth is anymore. And then there's that time when you just kind of say, fuck it, give up. I just don't want to listen to any of it. But eventually you make your way back into this space, back into that, into making a sound,
Yeah.
regulating the mind with the breath. The breath itself, when it's regulated, the mind will leave the past and the future and will become fully present. But when that happens, you really feel peaceful and connected. Fear and low-grade anxiety, all of that stuff, you can't touch it. It's not an organ. It's not physical. And yet it can command such a huge space in our lives that can change the choices that we make for ourselves. But when you let go of all that and you're in a strong field, it's just so freeing. And it doesn't cost money to do that. It doesn't take a pill. It doesn't take years in therapy. It's learning how to manage your own mind through your breath and through sound. And so that's my meat and potato of it. But what can happen along the way are a lot of mystical experiences. The experience of being in flow, of having an activated toroidal field. What happens when the toroid, the magnetism, is generated and flowing, the things that you desire naturally will come into your space, will come to you. There's this idea that we have to force in the world and we have to make stuff happen, and it's so masculine oriented. And yet when you get into that space of neutrality and you activate, boom, it's right there. Because all that fear energy, all of that sort of dissolves, and it opened you up for that greater experience. And so, we all fall in love when we're together for 4 days, hugging, and it's like your family. It's the most beautiful bonding experience. And then people are running around in the woods and looking for orbs, and just, I don't know. There's just something really primal about it. And I'm so happy to be a part of this growing community. I mean, it's a global community. But if you're somebody that's skeptical, that you're really scientific, you're really locked in, you have to have the evidence, you've got to verify everything, you might be missing the point of it.
Yeah.
There's that center, that middle way of surrendering into opening yourself up to the field. There's a thing I call soft eye gaze when people are out at night. We activate the field, and then I ask them to focus on something, the mirror, but it's not a hard focus. It's a very soft focus. So when you do that, when you shift your sight just a little bit, the whole visual field opens up. And then
Yeah, it's kind of like you can your peripheral gets bigger, kind of like that reminds me of the mind's eye posters where you relax your vision and you can see, like, do you remember those?
No.
Oh, what it reminds me of too. When I was a kid, Pizza Hut had the red and white cross-check things, and I remember the first time I was staring at it and saw it become 3D. It scared the heck out of me. But yeah, no, they used to make posters that would be like that. But yeah, no, that exact technique though of the focus of non-focus, so to speak. You find that in lots of different meditation, especially in Buddhism and Zen and other different areas. Even getting into some Kabbalah and different stuff like that. It's physical stuff you do with your body that seems to affect your actual kind of spiritual resonance and flow.
Yeah. I loved Pizza Hut pizza too.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah, we used to go there all the time when I was a kid. That's funny. Yeah, that's the thing. So I don't know, we're just one day at a time and doing our own practices and building this global family of people that are connecting to the phenomena, and I don't know, it's my whole heart and soul. I love it. I saw you do an interview. I can't remember the girl that you were talking to. Obviously, it was like last spring.
Okay.
You and I have been talking for a while to have this conversation.
Yeah.
I thought, I want to talk to him. That would be fun. I can share some things.
Yeah, this is tons of fun. I want to be respectful of your time. I know we're going on like an hour here. The one thing what I was going to ask is kind of a last thing we want to leave it with that was, do you have, if you wanted to share with anybody, as we've said, everybody's CE5 is kind of like their own kind of soup, so to speak. Like they kind of everybody does everything a little bit differently. Do you have like a particular type of technique or ceremony, anything you want to talk about? For somebody who maybe just doesn't know anything about this and this is the first time they've ever been exposed, or like pointers, or you know what I mean?
Well, what I like to do, okay, so if you're new and you're interested in CE5, you can go to the Contact Tools app. Dr. Greer has created a comprehensive app that it's a CE5 guide and practice. So everything that you need to have a contact evening, whether it's with you or with some friends, there's pre-recorded meditations in there. They've got the crop circle tones, and everything's explained step by step how to go through it. And eventually, you'll do that so many times, and then you'll just start doing it on your own. You'll start making it your way. What I do, because I did do a couple of trainings with Dr. Greer, is when I do a 2 or 3 night event, my first night is all Ce5. So we're gonna send a signal out with the radios. We're gonna do an official Dr. Greer puja. I do official Dr. Greer meditations. I do guided meditations. I will add singing bowls to the evening. He loves to do the I'm Nama meditation, so I will incorporate that. I do 2 sessions. I'll have 1 session where we're doing the work. Contact is happening, all kinds of stuff, and then we take a break. And then we go into the second session, and then we close the circle. So that would be a CE5 evening. My intention is to give people an experience of an evening with Dr. Greer. I'm not Dr. Greer, but, a lot of people either can't afford to go or they don't, they're just not going to go that way to be with Dr. Greer. So I like to bring that to the community. And then I'd love to do the Navajo ceremony to honor the ancestors, the native people, their relationships with the star people. And so I like to call in the directions. I have different curated meditations with various mantras, mantra practices. I love to do the drumming, so I'll bring my drum to that. We'll do a smudging ceremony. again, 2 sessions, 1 session break, and then a second session. So I try to spread that out. And then now I'm learning to incorporate a Rama night so that people can have an experience of what the Rama people do with Enrique.
Mm.
There's different factions of Rama, so I want to be careful to say that I'm working with what I've learned from Enrique. So I don't want to speak for the official Rama community because they are very specific about the way they do things. But after 9 years on the mountain with Enrique, I feel like I can provide some interesting things. Again, there's meditations, mantras, and we'll do the chain of energy meditation, which is a really popular one. There's also the Dome of Protection meditation that they love to do. So I'm going to keep curating that one this year. I wasn't able to fully do a full night of anything because we had Chris Bledsoe with us.
Yeah.
And he's a very different element. So I was yielding to a lot of those things. But I did get to do some things and it was a lot of fun. But as far as like what I like to do, those are the 3 things that I like to bring to the greater community because people don't have experiences with those types of modalities. And so I like to create that. I love ceremony. I love instruments. I love music. So I add a little bit of Kimberly Marie into the mix. But people seem to enjoy that.
Yeah. That is very, very cool. Yeah, that's all I've got at the moment. We can go on talking about this stuff because I could definitely listen.
I know.
I like when you say, "Oh, I have so many stories," I want to be like, "Go, just start telling them."
I can start bursting down little rabbit holes and
exactly, we'll figure out stuff. But I'll let you go here for the night. You got other stuff you need to get to here. But thank you so much again for coming on here. We'll definitely be in touch, and hopefully, I'm sure we'll be able to be doing CE5, in person at some point in the future here, hopefully going forward. So,
yeah, Ryan, you should seriously think of coming to the Contact Modality Conference if you can.
Yeah.
If not, sign up for that modality retreat for next fall and join us.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Well, thank you again, Kimberly, so much for joining us tonight here, and you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me.